And as it happens, we will begin our look back at round 9 in National 1 with Leicester Lions, who were beaten 36-29 by bottom club Darlington Moden Park away from home. A first half flurry of tries for DMP set the platform for their first victory of the campaign, and it was a very welcome win for Gary Law's side towards the bottom of the division. At the top, Rams made it 9 wins from 9, but they certainly had to fight hard against Sedgley Park at Old Bath Road. The 11th place Tigers were in dreamland just after half-time and possibly were dreaming of a stunning victory as they led 22-14, but 4 unanswered tries from Rams turned the tide with Seb Reynolds' side recording a 40-22 victory, and it lifted them back up to top spot in National 1 after Richmond had moved to the summit on Friday night following their 42-14 win over Birmingham Moseley. Like Rams, Rob Powell's side remain unbeaten after 8 wins from their first 9 games, the only blot on their copybook being that draw away from home against Stings Crusaders. But both Rams and Richmond remain unbeaten in National 1, and the gap at the top remains at just 2 points, with Rotherham's Titans still in third after Lloyd Hayes' late penalty snatched an 18-7 win over Plymouth Albion in round 9 for Rotherham. Blackie for up to 4th in the table, 4 wins in the last 5 games for James Shanahan's side after they beat Sale FC 31-27, and down at the bottom, 12th placed Esher picked up an important second win of the season as 4 tries in the final 30 minutes saw them defeat Stings Crusaders 51-32. And Esher are Leicester Lions' opponents this weekend. As we mentioned before, Leicester Lions are one of our featured clubs on the National League Rugby preview show this week, and the Lions themselves have just 1 victory to their name thus far, but have a really good opportunity, don't they, against a table rival this weekend to double that tally. And in terms of Leicester Lions, it has been quite the journey for them over the last few seasons. They were switched from National 2 North to National 2 South, weren't they, either side of the COVID-19 pandemic. They were then moved into National 2 West following the restructure of the leagues in 2022-23. But Gareth Collins' side immediately gained promotion for the first ever time to National 1 after winning the title in that season. And then in their first campaign in National 1 last term, they survived relegation on a very tense final day of the season. So ahead of what feels like an important game on Saturday against Esher, we jumped on a call with head coach Gareth Collins. Hey, let's just have a quick look back at last week's game against Darlington Moden Park, if you don't mind, Gareth. And it's quite easy for people like myself who cover the leagues to look at that result and go, goodness, Leicester Lions will be disappointed and frustrated with that. And I know you said after the game to the club website that you were disappointed with the result, but you were very quick to pick up on the positives and the character that you showed in the second half. So how important is it when you are going through a little bit of a sticky spell to try and pick those positives and carry them forward?
Yes, it's massively important, and it wasn't hard to find them. There was a lot of positives. It was a really tough game, and we expected it to be a tough game. I didn't expect anything otherwise. Huge game for them as well. And playing anybody away from home is difficult, regardless of where they're sitting in the league table. They were going to be up for it, and they were, and they made it really hard for us. And yeah, we lost a couple of big moments in the first half, and the scoreline got away from us. But ultimately, the season isn't going to be defined by that one game. It's going to be defined by the whole season, and some of the character again that we showed in that second half, and the fight to come back. And we've got the ball with the last play of the game, and if we score, we get the draw, and we'd all be delighted with that as a result. So fine margins, which we were just on the wrong side of this week, but a lot of positives to carry forward.
And just kind of looking back at sort of last season as well, Gareth, 9 games into this one, what have you been able to take from last campaign going into this season? And maybe a second part of the question is, what are you still learning about yourselves as a side?
Yeah, I think we have a unique model really, is that we have really close relationships with the two Premiership clubs, with Leicester and Northampton, and what that means is we have half a new squad, and that's going to be the case every single season. So we're very realistic about our ambitions, our expectations. Our ambition as a club, as a group, was to get out of National Two, which we've achieved. And we always knew it was going to be incredibly difficult. We have a really small squad, very, very tight unit, really driven, but um, we have to integrate so many new players, and that does take time, and they're all very young, no matter how good they are, and some of them are exceptional, and they'll go on to good things. National one's a really tough breeding ground, and putting all that together does take some time, and we learnt that last year. And that's really what we're focusing on, is getting the group to a point where we can win games consistently. A lot of our group that we had last year was the group that we won National Two with, and it was 5 years since I took over that we achieved that with that group. I think last season for a lot of them felt like that was the icing on the cake. We played in that one, they survived in that one. It was an aging group, and we've lost a lot of those senior players, and yeah, it's been difficult to replace them. So it's been a really big reset for us this summer, and it was great. We've got a really young group, really enthusiastic group. I like to think we play a really exciting brand of rugby, which fits with the age of the group. But it is very difficult in the league that we're in order to compete sometimes in the physical aspects of the game. But we're working hard with those young players to upskill them as much as possible, as quickly as we can, in the hope that we can win enough games to survive and get another crack at it again next year.
Yeah, and I know, Gareth, results are majorly important on a Saturday afternoon, but just on kind of the young players and the connections you have with the Tigers, Leicester Tigers and Northampton Saints, it must be kind of as a coach, a pleasure to work with some of these top talents. I know, looking at some of the team sheets this year, we have George Pearson at Leicester Tigers. I know Lewis Chesham's kind of come in for a game or two, but, Craig Wright was with you for a couple of games last year, and he was lifting
Yeah.
a World Under 20 trophy in the summer for England. So it must be a pleasure to work with these guys, but also have them at your disposal as well.
Yeah, it is, and it creates a really good enthusiastic training environment. And yeah, I count myself very lucky to be in the position that I am, and get to work with those young players. And you have to accept part of our sort of responsibility as a club is to give those guys experience and opportunities, and then you have to take something from watching them kick on. Having said that, when we've got a league game on Saturday, and I have to watch 10 of our players playing against each other on Friday night, in the Prem Cup, it is a tough one, and it does create challenges like that. And these couple of weeks while the Prem Cup has been on has really stretched us. But at the same time, that gives opportunity to the other guys that we have, that are desperate to prove that they should have the shirt. And so, I'm pleased to give those opportunities as well. And although we didn't get the win last week, there was a couple of lads out there that one making his debut, and one that hasn't had much minutes at all. So it does create those opportunities, and it's great to see that and be able to facilitate that as well.
If you look at the run of fixtures you've had in the first half of the season, especially before the first break we had at the end of October, start of November, you played some really top sides already. I think in October you played four of the current top five sides. So are you targeting sort of the next five games as not crucial games, but you really want to start turning those fine margins into positive results for you guys?
I consciously want to stick to the processes that you put in place, and therefore the weeks look the same, the preparation looks the same. But I'm not one of those people who just says it's just another game, because sometimes it's not. And as much as we don't want to look at the league table is there. We're aware of it, players are aware of it. So when it is a big game, we don't want to shy away from being honest about that. But because part of that is recognizing that the opposition are in a similar position. And again, last week's game will stand us in good stead for this one. Because if the players were under any sort of illusion that the sides around us are going to be an easier challenge. Last week will have showed them that it isn't, and it presents just a difficult challenge, just maybe in a slightly different way. So yeah, it is a big game. We'll be really honest about that, and hopefully, we'll get this one over the line.
As always, brilliant to catch up with Gareth for National League Rugby. And of course, he and his side would have liked more wins on the board at this stage of the season. Now we're a third of the way through the campaign. But as we said, they can add to that on Saturday against Esher. What an opportunity it could be for Leicester Lions. It should be a cracking atmosphere down at the club on Saturday. So why not get yourself down to Leicester Lions for your sporting fix before that small matter of England versus South Africa at Allianz Stadium at Twickenham. But anyway, enough about that. More importantly, let's have a look at the fixtures in National 1 this weekend. And we kick things off with Birmingham Moseley versus Roslyn Park. Roslyn Park grinding out an 18-15 win over Bishop Stortford last Friday night to make it 6 wins in a row, and Kieran Power's side will be looking to continue that form at Bilsby Common in round 10. 10th place Bishop Stortford, who we mentioned then, had some tasking fixtures against 4 of the top 5 sides in recent weeks, but have performed really well across the board. However, this seems a chance for them to get back to winning ways against bottom club Darlington Roden Park this weekend. But the visitors will, of course, be heading south with a spring in their step after opening their accounts in round 9. Elsewhere, Sale FC travelled to 9th place Dings Crusaders for a first league meeting between the sides. As we said, Leicester Lions take on Esher, and it could be a big couple of weeks for Esher as well, who also host Bishop Stortford next weekend. But first things first will be a trip to the Midlands for Peter Winterbottom's side. Unbeaten in 2nd place, Richmond go to Plymouth Albion in round 10. We saw in round 8, didn't we, that Albion made things difficult for league leaders Rams at Brickfields. So can they do the same to Richmond on Saturday, or will the London club continue to march on? Speaking of Rams, they are back at Old Bath Road, where they haven't lost since March, with the table toppers hosting 4th place and an in-form Blackheath. So that is one to watch out for in Berkshire. And lastly, Sedgley Park, who will be looking to build on the positives in defeat from last week's outing at Rams, welcome 3rd place Rotherham Titans to Park Lane.